And it's a very good morning. If you've just joined us and tuned into CCFm this morning, it's a great honor for us to say, hey, Mr. Grant Ray. How you doing, sir?
Great. Nice to be back.
It's good to have you back. So, last week we started off with some great information about rentals and that whole space. And just for those who perhaps didn't listen last week, Grant is a certified residential rental specialist. And he is back today, not only to answer some of your questions, but most importantly, to talk about the importance and the procedure when it comes to the incoming and outgoing inspections. So, Grant, please unpack that a little bit for us.
So there's two really important inspections that have to happen in the rental space, and these are contained within the Rental Housing Act. And the first and the most important, and I can't overstress the importance of the incoming inspection. When you move in, your landlord or your agent has to do a joint incoming inspection with you. This is so important because it establishes a baseline record of the condition of the property. And this is where a lot of landlords or agents potentially drop the ball, and it creates massive dispute later when they try and make deductions off your deposit when you move and they have no baseline record. So it's important to note, if you're a landlord that's renting out his properties without an agent, do the incoming inspections really, really well. My business uses video inspections, and everyone's got a decent camera on their phone, and you can just walk through each room with your camera, covering all the existing defects. Now, important to note, if you're a tenant, just because there is a defect doesn't oblige the landlord or the agent to repair that defect, because 90% of properties are not new builds. They're going to be second-hand properties, and they are going to be existing defects. But keep in mind, the property has to be habitable. So if these defects render the property uninhabitable, then yes, you can require your landlord or your agent to repair those things. Now, when you move, an outgoing inspection needs to occur. And funny enough, the Rental Housing Act says not less than 3 days before the end of the lease period, you have to do a pre-outgoing inspection. In other words, you meet with your landlord or your agent, you go through the property, and they say, listen, these things, as compared to the incoming inspection, are amiss, and you need to attend to these. And then, of course, when there's a key handover, then a final inspection can occur. Now, it's important to note you lose all your opportunities to restore the property once you hand over those keys as a tenant. So be diligent. Look at your incoming inspection. Make sure you return the property in the same way. And obviously, the only exception is fair wear and tear. In other words, things that would normally deteriorate by day-to-day use by a normal human being. So that's it in a nutshell. And you'll probably find that most of the disputes of the Rental Housing Tribunal nowadays are disputes around deposits and deposit refunds and the deductions that a landlord or an agent has made off the tenant's deposit because of the condition of the property. So as you can see, these incoming and outgoing inspections are crucially important.
So important. Absolutely very important. And I like what you said. You don't have to hire a videographer. Everybody's smartphone has got more than sufficient capabilities
Absolutely.
with regard to that. Then, Grant, in terms of a situation where perhaps a tenant is looking at moving in and doing that incoming inspection and saying, like you said, I'm really not happy with this thing or that thing that doesn't seem to be fixed or working properly. What is a reasonable time for the tenant to allow the landlord to have that fixed?
So this time frame is a little bit up in the air. I think it's a fair period of time for you to move in and record existing defects that could possibly have been missed by the landlord. For example, plug points that are not working. And it would be a reasonable expectation for plug points to be working, and that would make the property habitable. So in my business, I allow up to 7 days after we've actually done this incoming inspection, and we do the video, we send the tenant the link. They then confirm, yes, that's the condition, and then they've got a further 7 days to record existing further defects, like that they discover that actually the hot water is only trickling out. There's no pressure.
Makes a lot of sense. It really does. Then last week we had a couple of questions, and one of them was from Cindy, where Cindy was saying, help us, please. What is the difference between rental agent company and rental insurance company?
So there are a couple of companies that are offering rental insurance to landlords where they guarantee the rental would be paid. And there are two companies, one where the landlord pays a premium to this company. That company then does the screening of the tenant. They hold the deposits. And if that tenant then defaults, they can guarantee the landlord a certain amount of rent and cover a certain amount of damages. Then there are other companies that have a premium that is loaded onto the rental, and it's essentially a premium then that the tenant pays. So yes, there are companies that insure the rental. And then of course, if you use a good rental agent, you essentially shouldn't need insurance because that should be covered. If your rental agent is worth their salt, they're going to screen that tenant very, very carefully. They're going to do background checks, credit checks, and they're going to make sure that the lease is compliant. So those are the differences.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Grant. Well, Grant, we're going to ask you to come back next week so we can continue this section. Definitely a very important and very helpful, both from a tenant's point of view and a landlord's point of view. Thank you so much, and we appreciate.
Pleasure.
Where can people go to find out more about Grant Ray?
So I have some very helpful videos, both for landlords and tenants, on my TikTok channel. You can just search at Go to Grant. You can also look at my Facebook page. Again, you can find me at Go to Grant, GOTOGRANT.
As easy as that. Grant, thank you for your time, for your good advice, and we appreciate you so much.
Such a pleasure.